This is the grand opening of the Pima Dynamite Trailhead, and we're also here to celebrate, of course, the life, the gift, and the amphitheater dedicated to Art Decobooter. Yay! It's hard to believe that the concept and the completion of this trailhead is the 12th trailhead and final one that is designated in the McDowell Sonoran Preserve. It's pretty bright up here. And so it's been 27 years. And before that, the leader and the visionary included a group that were very dedicated and gave purpose, and eventually everyone owns and is a part of it today. So this is the 12th trailhead, and it's a culmination of a lot of learning, right? So we learned a lot from the other 11. And as we experience this walk today, you'll see that there are different trails, and it's split in the center so that coming in, going out is a lot less congested than the Gateway Trail. Isn't that amazing? So that's one thing that will facilitate it. We won't have to cross one bridge, right? Coming and going. And that's a very sensible thing. The other thing you'll notice is there are actually 5 entrances over here. And one of them is blocked by cactus. So that will be a future interpretive trail. So there's still an open-endedness to this location. I'm told I met some people who have been out here since the 90s and using this area for biking and trails, and I know the police also had to kind of scout things out. I'd like to begin by acknowledging our council members who are here, and with a big thank you. I have Vice Member Tammy Caputi. We have Betty Janik is here. Thank you, Betty, for being here. Usually I see Tom Durham. He usually bikes. He bikes a lot, so he may be in this position. I was looking for Kathy Littlefield, and I try to spot everyone as best I can, and I'm sure we'll be greeting them along the way. We also have former elected. And as we look at how from council to council, from decade to decade, we evolved to where we are today. I saw Mary Manross, Mary Manross. I saw Jim Bruner, and Jim Bruner, his wife Sandy, and David Smith, and his wife Diana. And there are so many people that have brought us, to this point. We'll be naming the commissioners later in the program. As we look at Art's life, Art Decabooter's life, he was the founding chair of the Scottsdale McDowell Sonoran Preserve Commission. And it's very worthy that this amphitheater be named for him. One thing that the amphitheater does not have is actually there's no direct plug for a microphone. We added that just for today. And I say that because it's fitting. Art Decabooter was a soft-spoken person, and he was a giant. And you think about that, if we talk about what, and we know what our preserve means to us, it does become very personal. And this space will be used for education and orientation as we as we share really the delicate ecology and the ecosystem that is our Sonoran Desert. We're here also, I will say, to celebrate that we did pass the general plan, and the general plan had a major component, which is about our eco-environment. It is about the archaeological points that are here. So they're semi-hidden. Sometimes the stewards know about them and they don't want to share that because they don't want necessarily others to know. But those are also a part of mankind and womankind being here, you know, over millennium. I want to thank the stewards, and I know that you were a vital part in passing the Prop 463. And it was written by us, and it was also approved, but the work as we move forward is going to be done and continued by all our commissions, not only for the McDowell Sonoran Preserve Commission, but also our transportation, our parks and rec, as we continue to make things really wonderful here. It's the other thing that we will be looking at is really what this preserve means to us, the how it came to be, the when, right, and one more aspect that we'll talk about later in the program. So, at this time, I'd like to call Cynthia Wenstrom. She is the Preserve Commission Chair, and will tell us more. Thank you. Hello.
Thank you, Mayor Ortega. Can you hear me better now? Is that better? Thank you, Mayor Ortega. All of our friends, it's wonderful to see all the blue shirts. I love that. I'm going to a different event after this, so I couldn't wear my blue shirt today. But I want to, first of all, recognize every commissioner that's here with me today. We have our Vice Chair, Lori Palasco. We have Commissioners Jeff Smith, Carrie Olson, Steve Coluccio, Marcia Lips, and Mark Hathbarth. Thank you so much. So how did we get here today? Not how did you arrive, but how did we get to the Pima Dynamite Trailhead? How did it come to be? Well, it almost didn't, because although Pima Dynamite was on the original plan as a major trailhead, there were concerns that the city may never have the funds available to purchase this land at the prices that were currently set by the State Land Trust at that time. Instead, since the land was already purchased, it was determined the best move was to proceed with Brown's Ranch Trailhead, just around the corner. A smaller trailhead. Fast forward to the recession, and at that time, the city was in a position to purchase this land that you see today, and today we again are honoring the Pima Dynamite Trailhead as well as the amphitheater honoring Dr. Art Decobooter. With the Commission's inputs, the city has been thrifty with your tax dollars, and it is for that reason that we still have some funds available. The McDowell Sonoran Preserve is just over 30,000 acres. I salute Art Decobooter, Carla, Jane Rao, Mayor Campana, Mayor Manross, and all the others who had the vision of preservation and conservation of this incredible preserve. A comprehensive ordinance to guide the production and use of this 30,000 natural acres was created, and the ordinance is as germane today as it was 30 years ago. It's simple, really. When you remember the focus was and is on land preservation, everything else falls into place. Everything this commission does revolves around that very statement. But let's talk about what is a commission. Not everyone knows. So the McDowell Sonoran Preserve Commission is made up of you, and me. It is 7 citizens with a wide array of backgrounds. Applicants apply to the City Council and are appointed by a majority vote. I'm making it super simple here. Commissioners can serve for up to 3 terms, 2 terms consecutively, and then a third perhaps if you apply again after a 12-month hiatus. The role of the commission is to listen to the city input provided by the staff, the information, and then when necessary and possible, using that information to make a recommendation to the City Council on any given topic or issue germane to the preserve. We are the citizen voice advising our elected officials. This commission's charter is to monitor and formulate a management plan. We follow this process, but also we bring forward our own research and questions, weighing options on each topic, because after all, this is our tax dollars, this preserve is ours. We care and respect your preserve, our preserve. And always remember the City Council has the final say whether they agree with a commission's recommendation or choose to make or change to a different route. If this interests you, please reach out to me. Let's talk. We're always looking for excellent people who care about this land that we are preserving. So here's a question for everyone. What's the difference between a park and a preserve? It sounds simple, and for the most part it is. A park may be built on virtually any parcel of land. We can add a ball diamond, tennis courts, picnic tables, and as trends change, we can change that. In fact, we're doing that right now in our city. Some of those things are changing to pickleball courts because things have changed. A park is typically minimal in its diversity of plants, and they're not necessarily native. A natural animal diversity is not important in a park. However, in addition to that minimal animal diversity, it's also not an area that's researched because it is a man-made area and it's not designated to preserve really anything. It's strictly the focus of recreation. However, a preserve has a wide variety of natural plants and rich animal species populations. Cultural aspects, as the mayor mentioned, are critical. They are left intact, they're cataloged, and history is observed and preserved. The differences are bold and evident between a park and a preserve. Our preserve is unique in our country and almost the world. If you didn't know that, we are that unique. There are other municipalities looking closely at what we are doing here as citizens and the city of Scottsdale, and they'd like to accomplish something very similar. Preserve, conserve, respect this land. Our preserve pioneers had the foresight and tenacity to set aside, hold dear this rich natural environment, and to educate the community about the value setting aside this land would bring to its citizens, its visitors, the wildlife and plants that live in this natural environment. The best way to do that is for each of us to respect the ordinance and preserve rules. Step off a designated trail means that you've broken the desert crust. One person in the preserve after hours means the wild animal population is disturbed. We know from research the animals leave the trail areas when humans are present. Once it's gone, we can't get it back. Please be mindful, preserve, conserve, respect. Be the one to share this with others. Along the way, I ask you all, please light the mind of a child. Share the love you have of this land with a young person. Share this rich, natural, extremely unique land we call the Sonoran Desert. Without education of our younger generations, without encouraging their love of this land, it will not be here. It will not be here to research, to conserve, preserve, and respect. I thank you, Mayor Ortega, all the friends that are here today. It is a pleasure to speak to you today, to serve as the chair for this commission, to carefully steward our tax dollars, and to preserve this land in its natural state in perpetuity. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. Over a year and a half ago, I happened to have lunch scheduled with Jim Thompson, the city manager, and this was before the election of November. And he was running a little late, and but we did meet, and there were 2 reasons he was running late. The first one was that COVID was hitting and starting to close down our city. He was going to make the announcement on March 18th, and we had a lunch on the 15th. He also told me that a major flood had caused damage in our preserve, and he was reacting and had teams going because they had to close the preserve at that time because of a storm that had hit. And those were the two leading topics for just a friendly first time meeting with Jim Thompson, and they were really the beginning of a tremendous change and displacement, let's say. The preserve was closed. Scottsdale got shut down. And as things started to reemerge, it was the outside, the open spaces that let Scottsdale, let our friends, let our families cope with the pandemic. And I know that the Stewarts are back full strength, and our next speaker is Justin Owen, who will talk about the Conservancy and what they're doing as we move forward. Justin?
Thank you, Mayor Ortega, and thank you everyone for coming out this morning. As the mayor said, my name is Justin Owen. I have the pleasure and honor of being the CEO of the McDowell Sonoran Conservancy. So on behalf of our staff, our board, and our over 700 stewards, thank you all for coming out here this morning. As Cynthia and the mayor said, I'd like to just thank our council members that are here, our former council members, former Mayor Manross, Carla, thank you all for your amazing vision in making this place possible. It is really exciting to see some familiar faces from 2 weeks ago. A lot of people were saying, do you think we can have as many people here as we did at the interpretive trail opening over at Fraser Field? And I said, absolutely. This place is too gorgeous and too phenomenal not for people to come out and celebrate. We get to work with the city on a daily basis, and it's sort of fun when I look at this trailhead and the conversations I've had over my 4 years here, of with every single trailhead, the city and the Conservancy learn something and bring something to the next one. I know from talking with Scott and Croy, when we look at Lost Dog versus Pima Dynamite, the innovation, the thought, the meticulous ability that goes into these trailheads takes years of planning. And it's a small but mighty team at the city that I just have to call out and say thank you to the amazing preserve staff for all the work they do year-round. I want to say also, this is, as I said, phenomenal because we take a piece from every single one. As we sit here and talk about, as Cynthia said, the education opportunities that an amphitheater like this can allow. When we look at the opportunity for youth to come out here and learn, a lot of people also forget our lifelong learners. The Conservancy is very honored and proud that we get to teach everyone from the smallest child to the most mature lifelong learner. I learned that. It's not older people, it's lifelong learners. And how we're able to do that is one of the reasons that any of you have, when you've heard me speak sometimes, I get emotional about what we're doing for the next generation. And it reminds me of the thing that some of you may have heard me say, but it is a very well-known Navajo proverb that we do not inherit the earth from our ancestors, we borrow it from our children. And when we look at it through that perspective, all of us has the opportunity to make a difference in our future. They talked a little bit about what this place has been. I know you wouldn't even think a lot of the time the detail that goes into these planning. But in the planning of this trailhead, one of the main missions was how can they cause the least disturbance possible? How can we disturb the least amount of land? And if any of you had been up here hiking or cycling, you may remember just right out in front of this building was a giant excavating building. Beezy's Excavation was here that provided all of the boulders and the rocks for Troon and the neighborhoods around. So the city and the planning is so intentional to disturb even less. As Chair Winstrom said, we are so unique here in Scottsdale. The McDowell Sonoran Preserve is the largest urban preserve in North America, and we have it as our treasure in our city. I am amazed every single day to tell people the preserve is almost 27% of the landmass of the city. When you combine that with the Greenbelt, all of our NAOS, all of that, a third of Scottsdale is open space. There is no other major city like that in the United States. It is a phenomenal accomplishment. Speaking of accomplishments, I do want to call out the hundreds of hours that our staff and volunteers did in planning everything for this trailhead. Our team worked so hard on the signage that you'll see when you walk in. And one of the key focuses was how do we engage visitors while recognizing that no one came here to read a sign? If you look at some of those earlier trailheads and you walk up and you're like, okay, that's way too much. And then you look at the national parks and adopting that model into how do we tell a story with pictures and words so people want to learn more. This process resulted in the many more photos that you're seeing, the experiences of people enjoying the preserve as well as our work. We are piloting some of the panels that you'll see around here, which are simple to replace throughout the seasons. So instead of having just static interpretive signs all year round, having ones that we can switch out 3 and 4 times a year to address what is happening in the preserve at that time. As I said, we have the great work that we're doing in education to help move our future generations, but I would be remiss if I didn't call out the scientific research that our amazing team of stewards and scientists are able to do. We look at limiting the disturbance. We knew this area would be disturbed for this trailhead, so our team came out and harvested nearly 50 5-gallon buckets of soil crust and took it off-site to be able to take for a later time to restore in other parts of the preserve that need restoration. We're also here to celebrate Dr. Art Decobooter, and as the mayor said, as the founding chair of the commission, as well, most people don't know, in his role as president of Scottsdale Community College, he helped the Conservancy by providing space for our first steward training classes. Dr. Decabooter was dedicated not only to the preserve, to the Conservancy, and it is an absolute honor that that carries on through today. Our soil crust experiments on how do we restore this amazing preserve, some of them are housed at Scottsdale Community College even today, and the work that we're doing in the community to be able to protect this amazing place. As I said, I want to thank all of you for coming out today, all the preserve pioneers, all of our council members, and most importantly, all of our stewards for helping us take this place to the next level and take it to our next generation. So, once again, it is an honor to be up here. It is an honor for the Conservancy to do this work. We thank you for your amazing support, and congratulations again to the City of Scottsdale and everyone on this amazing trailhead. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
The design team and all the effort, all the sensitivity that it took to walk the area, to understand the access, because this is the only trailhead with 2 entrances. We have one off Pima and we have one off Dynamite. And that leads to 300 parking spaces and 16 trailer horse stalls for horses and the equestrian community, as well as a watering point. And I want to credit the architects, Weddle and Gilmore. Thank you very much. You've worked. Yes. They worked with our city design team again, and all the clients who, of course, included the stewards' input. The landscape group and restoration that it took to put it together. You know, I'm honored today to introduce Kristen Foster. She is family. She's family, daughter of Art Decabooter and Mary. And Mary is here today. So please, Mary, let's show us your appreciation. it takes real leadership to bring Scottsdale to this level in every way. And well, speaking of leadership, I did go through Scottsdale leadership many, many years ago, and there are 3 signatures on my certificate. Congratulations, etc. One of them is Art Decabooter as the president of the chamber. The one in the middle is the mayor of Scottsdale, Herb Drinkwater, and the one at the end is Art Decabooter, again, because he was president of Scottsdale Community College. It's an honor to bring forward Kristen Foster.
Good morning. Thank you so much, all of you, for being here. This is an amazing turnout. I am a very poor substitute for my dad, but he can't speak so much to us right now. His spirit is definitely here. I am amazed at the beauty of where we are and the perfect marriage of environment and education. There's no better way to acknowledge his presence and to keep him here with us. Those were 2 things that were very, very important to him. I'm sure anybody here who knew my dad and listened to him speak often heard him say that as president of Scottsdale Community College, he liked to focus on the middle name, community. And I would say that even though his middle name was Wayne, and he liked to think of himself as John Wayne sometimes, he also thought of his own middle name as being community. And nothing would make him happier than being able to see this beautiful, beautiful complex, this representation of the community here, acknowledging that he did work hard and wanted to be able to pay it forward, to keep this forever for the future generations. He was a very kind, thoughtful man, and he was also guided by some really amazing, thoughtful, dedicated, passionate people such as Carla, who introduced him to this concept, and he was so excited about the preserve. And once he knew about it, he was definitely on board. Mostly, we just want to thank everybody who's here. I'm going to forget people because it's too bright to read my notes. And there are just so many people we are so grateful to, and that's what my dad would be feeling right now is gratitude. But of course, Carla, David and Diana Smith, Scott Hamilton, we know you put a lot of work into today. Joan Fadula couldn't be here, but she has played an integral role in all of this. And we are just very, very grateful to everybody who's here and everybody who's here in spirit. Thank you.
Well, at this time, we will have Marshall Trimble. Marshall Trimble is the state of Arizona, his official historian, a friend of Dr. Art Decabooter. Marshall is also a veteran. Marshall is a teacher. Marshall is a beloved Coronado High teacher. Marshall is a Arizona kid, right? Still is a kid inside. Ash Fork. Great Ash Fork. And, you know, when we talk about this week and praising individuals and celebrating Veterans Day as well, when we think of our beautiful country and beautiful sacrifice, and also many veterans who are part of the Scottsdale, City of Scottsdale organization, not just in police and fire, and but also in management positions, top to bottom. And that's really a great credit. So, Marcia, we're happy to have you here. Tell us about Art.
You know, Sonoran Desert, we're so blessed to live in the Sonoran Desert. of all of the deserts anywhere in the world, there is none that has more of a prolific growth of variety of plant and animal life than right here. And at this elevation, this is about where Tucson sits and where Cave Creek in this area, we're in the ideal location elevation-wise. It's just so great to be here this morning, too. By the way, for those of you who are interested in deserts, there are five, of every major desert in the United States, every one of them touches Arizona. The Sonora, Chihuahua, Mojave, Great Basin. There's your lesson for today. I began teaching Arizona history at Scottsdale Community College in January 1972. I was still teaching at Coronado High School at that time, too. It was a long time ago. Carla was just a kid, high school kid, I believe, then, if I remember right. Carla, are you there? I can't see you. Yeah. Coronado, right? Huh? Yep. I got a good memory for a teacher. Anyway, my office was a classroom. As my first classroom at Scottsdale was a Quonset hut on the campus of Scottsdale College, and it was left over from World War II. And believe it or not, some of those old structures are still there, those temporaries. We had they've had a facelift or two in the interim, but they're still there. And I was named director of Southwest Studies in 1977 and left Coronado and moved up to SCC. And Dr. DeCabooter arrived just a year later. It was an acrimonious period at SCC. It was rocked by opposing factions on the campus. And almost immediately, his calm demeanor provided a steadying influence in calming a hostile situation. He embraced the maligned artichoke, the mascot that the students had selected actually it was meant as a protest. It had divided one segment of the faculty and students with another segment. He took what many believed was a lemon and turned it into lemonade, to use an old used phrase. Art and artichoke were unnatural, as was the mascot was a friendly little, affectionately named Artie, and it all fit together as if it was predestined. During the late 1970s and early 80s, our offices, I was in the same office complex with Art at the time, well, for the next 30 years or so. And our office was located in a cozy corner of the library. You could sneeze in my office and you could hear Gesundheit from Art's office. Was that cozy? Well, anyway, this was a unique positive. I lost my place here. This artichoke would go on to bring national attention to the college, and we would get letters from people around the country wanting a mascot, a souvenir that was the artichoke. It wasn't, as I said, we were in the corner of the library, and it wasn't until about 1986 that we had a building to call our own. During his 30-plus tenure at SCC, Art oversaw significant growth at the college as enrollment jumped from 948 students to nearly 12,000 when he retired. Art spent the rest of his life giving back to our community with efforts that extended well beyond the college campus. These included many civic efforts throughout the city, including Scottsdale leadership. He was president of the Scottsdale Charles, president of the Scottsdale Rotary Club, president of the Scottsdale Chamber of Commerce, all at the same time. He also participated in numerous campaigns for local school district overrides. His wife, Mary, mentioned that he had a separate briefcase for each one of these activities. And he'd hurry off to carry wherever it might be, carrying that particular suitcase. God forbid that he should grab the wrong briefcase and hurry off to a meeting. In partnership with the McDowell Sonoran Preserve Commission, he served as chairman. Art spearheaded the conservation of Scottsdale. It's more than 30,000 acre preserve that we're here today. Longtime friend and city councilman Jim Bruner said of him, he was a leader of almost every civic group in town. On his 30-year tenure as first president, and I mean first president because before Art came, the leader was called an executive dean. And he truly transformed that college, Jim said, from a small little school to an institution that really made an impact on his community. He served 40 years of his life to Scottsdale and is a true servant leader, former Councilman Virginia Cordy said. Scottsdale was particularly blessed with his steadfast influence for the betterment of all of Scottsdale. Not only the community college, but for all of our city. It was never about art, she said. It was always about what is best for the community. From heading up civic organizations like Scottsdale Charles to championing the creation of the McDowell Sonoran Preserve, Art Decobooter's footprints can be found throughout Scottsdale and the Valley. This day, with this monument in perpetuity in his beloved mountain preserve, his story will live on. To the people who love our unique Sonoran desert, this trailhead will also serve as Art's greatest legacy. Few communities are fortunate enough to have somebody who brings such selfless service. His kind don't come along often. We're all most fortunate and blessed by his presence. It's sad that he's not here today, but he was present that evening exactly 4 years ago when the city council bestowed this honor upon him. And I can't help but feel that he is with us here today. I want to thank you all for coming out today. God bless.
So today we're celebrating, and we're celebrating four things. The what the preserve, and what every one of the trailhead means to each one of us. We're celebrating the who. Who put it together, what vision it took. We're celebrating the when, the beginnings, and the how it came to be. But there's one other question or one other point to make, and that is the why. Why? We've spoken about preserving ecology for this generation and future generations, right? We've spoken about the fragile nature of the Sonoran Desert. That's part of the why. We've spoken about the education element and how that sharing can happen by voice, by research and preparation. But for me, and I think for all of us, the real why is an old question, right? Why do we need to walk in the desert? Why? Why did the desert bring allure and bring the spirit and our longing to be in the desert? And there's a long scriptural and archaic writings about that trip or journey. And as I think of it, it was said, when I came to the desert to find creation or to get closer to the Creator, the person said he did not find the voice in the howling wind in the desert. He did not find, or she did not find, the Creator in the earthquake. They did not find that contact with the creation and the Creator in thunder or lightning. But when you felt the whisper of the desert, then you know why. So let's celebrate the why and continue to invite everyone in Scottsdale. There are many residents of Scottsdale who have not yet been in the preserve, and I know many newcomers that come to Arizona are lucky enough to stumble upon our beautiful treasure here. And I will ask Mary and Marshall, Cynthia, let's go unveil the Art Decobooter amphitheater.